podcast friends. Welcome to episode 11 of Barley, Hops, and Yarn, the podcast. My name is Jennifer. I'm the face behind Barley, Hops, and Yarn, based out of sort of Baltimore, Maryland. Not quite Baltimore, Maryland. About 30 minutes away from Baltimore. That's not the point. Anyway, this is a fiber yarn knitting podcast, primarily knitting and then some dyeing that I do. I'll eventually learn how to crochet, but I keep saying that and haven't done it yet, although it is on my radar. This month, usually I have like clips throughout the month or the 2-month spread or however I'm doing it. This month is all going to be a straight shot, one video. Might get split up into 2 sections because right now the tiny human is taking a nap and I don't know, excuse me, I had a hiccup. I don't know how long she will stay asleep for, so we'll find out. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. I have a finished object. They're socks, and they don't match. So, finally finished. Sorry, the light's kind of blowing out on this side. I'm making do with what I've got today, guys. So I finally finished just vanilla sock pattern. Yarn is Jessie's Girl. The textured colored yarn, that's not textured, colored yarn is Jessie's Girl by Woolen Vinyl. The charcoal color, I don't remember what name the yarn is itself, but I got it from Clover Hill Yarn Shop, which is a local to me yarn store. It's the closest one I have. Not technically. Technically Magpie Fibers is the closest, but I don't often go there because parking, and then I have to walk. You don't need to know any of that. Anyway, so yes, I finally have a finished pair of socks. I've only been working on these for 2 years, and these socks are cursed because, like I said, 2 years. If you've watched some of my, oh, you didn't get to see the cute little bumblebee video that way. There we go. Yay, bumblebee. Okay. So if you have been watching my podcast for a while, or even if you've just watched one of the recent episodes, I talk a little bit about how I frogged and restarted this sock, I think 3 times, or these socks. But you can see that different lengths up here. Don't know how that happened because I followed the same count all the way down. My heels don't match up. Now, in my defense, I was working on the heel for the funky sock, which is the shorter one. I was working on the heel for that during a wedding, and I don't know how, but I somehow completely screwed it up. There had also been drinking involved because, you know, it was a wedding. But yeah, so that doesn't add up. And then if we have the toe here, I don't know. I don't know. I got to the end where I was getting ready to Kitchener and my stitch counts were off. I had like 20 on one needle and 12 on the other. So I just kind of finangled it. And I mean, they're closed. The toe is closed. It's just they, you know. So anyway, these are display only socks because they are pretty, even though they don't match. They're just gonna hang up on my wall. Good news is the colors kind of match my general theme of life anyway, so they'll be pretty to look at, if not wearable, because I know it's only a little bit of a difference, but like that, what, half an inch of difference, that's gonna make a difference. Yeah, so yay, finished object. Screwed up finished object, but finished object. All right, move. That's my only finished object. Everything else is whips. We'll start off with my alien cowl, which is in my Fangirl fiber bag that has the aliens from Toy Story. And I don't know where I was last time y'all saw this. I'm pretty sure I had like just cast it on. But we got some aliens now. Let me drop all this. We got some aliens now. So the green color is Pigpen, dyed by me. The pink color is Sally, also dyed by me. This is what they look like in cake ball form. I am loving how the 2 colors are playing up together. Another one, if you've seen my podcast in the past, you will know that I had already started this and I didn't like how the color work, my tension was in the color work. I still don't love how my tension is in the color work, but I'm pretty sure at least this time it'll block out. Basically, oh, Tiny Human's awake, so let's wrap this one up. But basically, like, my tension is great through this part, but then as soon as we get to the two aliens, like, overlapping a little bit, my tension gets a little too tight. So we'll see if it blocks out. Worst case scenario, I'm really not making this too sorry. I'm really not making this to be worn. I'm mostly making it as just a display for my booth at shows. And this one has taken a little bit of a back burner lately because I've been working a lot more on my test knit. But yeah, I do quite love my little alien buddies. It is a pretty fast knit, even with it being color work. Like, the chart is, like, your work is really easy to read. So the chart is pretty memorizable, even if it's just like the first repeat of the row. You have to look at the chart, and then from there it's just you go. If you're good at kind of recognizing patterns, which I would like to think that most of us are as knitters, since a lot of what we do is patterns. Oh, if you're not good at patterns, sorry, let me know. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so there's this one. I don't know why I'm just like staring at it right now. I'm trying to see if I can find a spot that has a little bit better tension to show. This one's decent. Anyway, yeah, I think it will block out. I'm not positive that it will block out, but I think it will. So we shall see when it's finished. My next show as of right now is not until October, so I have plenty of time to work on that and get that one finished up and blocked and see what happens. And now we're gonna pause because Tiny Human is awake. BRB. All right, I am back. Slight change of outfit because I got hot and the other shirt was a long sleeve shirt, and Toddler's awake doing her own thing. Anyway, back to podcast content. One thing I forgot to mention in the last clip because I got distracted by a human waking up is who the alien cowl is by, and it is by, I believe it's Knits by Cam. I will put something in the description box just in case I'm wrong or you're a visual person want to read it, but there is that. Now, the next project, I'm a fucking idiot because I went on this long thing about how I was getting stressed that it was going to be a little too big and it wasn't going to fit me. And I was like, I mean, that's okay, but I don't know. And now I'm thinking maybe I didn't even need to buy the extra yarn I bought because I was afraid that it was going to be too big. My So Summer by Jessie made designs in the color Hedgehog Fibers Deep Bend. I've done that much since y'all last saw it, which is, let me get out my handy dandy ruler, a little bit more than 2 inches. And then I actually, why am I doing it over there? Then I actually read the pattern again. This is a bottom up pattern. So this part that I was concerned about being too big around my top, as you can tell it would have been, is actually going to be around my waist. So I don't need to be concerned about it being too big. It will be the right size. Let me see if I have my pattern in here. No, because why would I have my pattern? Don't remember what size I'm making. Hopefully have said it in another episode. I'll add that into my information down below. But yeah, so that makes me feel better knowing that it is bottom up. That makes me feel better about how quickly I'm working on this because it does kind of feel like a slog. Like I feel like I'm on Body Island because I am. Sorry, I was dry anyway. Not the point. Yeah, so I also had my repeat information wrong. Apparently last time I said I had 2 more repeats to go. This time I do have 1 more repeat to go. It's kind of dark, so yeah, there you go. So I'm just using light bulb stitch markers to count how many repeats I've done of increases. So 1 more increase repeat to go. And then I know I said I read the pattern, and I did read the pattern, but I promptly forgot everything about the pattern other than I have 1 more increase to go and it's bottom up. So therefore I'm an idiot. So I don't know what I do next, but whatever. It's It's bottom up. I feel so much better about this now. We'll see if I really did need that third skein or not. Yeah, so this is this. Let me move my stitch marker while we are talking about it. And I'll put a stitch marker on my alien cowl as well. I just don't have one in my immediate vicinity because why would I? That seems too logical. My fingers aren't working, bear with me. There we go. All right, now next whip is my test knit for freshwater fiber pearl, also known as Caitlin, and that is the Trans Rights Are Human Rights sweater. I am using Leading Men. I have a skein of uncaked yarn, Leading Men Fiber Arts in the worsted 100% superwash box office colorway. Is Darkest Hour. So I am pretty far. I have eight more rows to go until I split for sleeves, so it's looking pretty good. This project has been a little bit of an issue for me with regards to gauge. So I know I have said in the past, I don't gauge swatch. That is true. I don't gauge swatch. So far, everything has turned out fine as I want it to, even without gauge swatching. Because this is a test knit, I gauge swatched for this. So the pattern calls for, I want to say size 8 needles. We'll say it's either size 7 or size 8. Pattern calls for, we're just going to say size 8 for the purposes of this. When I did my gauge swatch, I did my gauge swatch in the rounds, did a nice big swatch, what you're supposed to do, all that, measured it out. My gauge was 18 stitches per inch, I think. Either 18 or 19. The pattern calls for 17 stitches per inch. So I talked to Caitlin. I'm like, do we think this is going to be close enough? I'm not really sure. I think it'll be close enough. What do you think? You are the pattern writer. Do you want me to try to get closer to appropriate gauge? And she responded back and she's like, yeah, go ahead and move up a needle size. That should help you get closer to appropriate gauge. Well, as we have discovered from my summer, my reading comprehension is occasionally not great. So there was one section, but also this is why you test patterns. Not you as in you, but just like in general, this is why patterns get tested, especially paid for patterns, because my brain interpreted the increases. I don't want to give specific numbers away, but let's just say you have 100 increases. Like I'm supposed to do 100 increases or something along those lines, right? Well, the way the pattern was written, I interpreted it as you're doing 100 increases. So that meant I was doing, because you know, every other row you knit. So that in my brain meant I was doing 100 increase rows, 100 knit rows. So I get to the point where I have now done like 40 increase rows and 40 knit rows. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, this is going to be so long. Like I'm already lengthwise, I was pretty much where I am now. I was like, there's no way this is going to like be proper gauge wise. Like my row gauge can't be that off. I don't fully understand. Well, I went back and reread the pattern, or no, I didn't reread the pattern. I messaged Caitlin, I think, and I was like, this is how I interpreted this. Was this correct? And she said no. So then I decided to measure my gauge. So at that point, pattern calls for 8. I sized up to use a 9. I measure my gauge and I have 20 stitches per inch. How the hell do I have more stitches per inch on the larger needle size? I don't understand. So anyway, I had about this much of the sweater done incorrectly. So I had to frog all of that. And now I have this much of the sweater done correctly. So if you remember from one of my last videos, or if you're new here and don't know, the sweater is going to have a motif on the front of it. The particular motif I picked to do is a frog. So this lifeline here is not a real all the way around lifeline. It is just a lifeline to mark where the start of the duplicate stitch pattern will go once a sweater is finished. But yeah, so I have 8 more rounds to go. So that means 4 increase rounds and 4 knit rounds. 8 more rounds to go, and then I will split for sleeves, and then I will start on the body. We don't have the sleeve part of the pattern yet. I like how it's just sitting on my shelf. Anyway, it's kind of warm. I don't have the sleeve part of the pattern just yet. I think she's finalizing some numbers still. So I will go from there, and yeah, I'll be working on a body soon. So yeah, so close. It's also really soft and squishy. That's all I have for whips right now. I do at my desk at work have a couple of socks that I was doing some repairs on, and then I have yarn to cast on a new sock. Generally, if like I'm on hold with an insurance company, or if I'm talking to an insurance company, then I tend to be knitting on something just because it helps my hands to be moving while I hear them in the background going, okay, yeah, let me look into that. Okay, yeah, let me see. It just helps me. I did have a car project that was a baby blanket. Started that, I guess, about 2 years ago now, because one of my coworkers at the time, his wife was pregnant. This was their 3rd child. I had already made child number 1 and 2 a baby blanket, and I felt like I had to make a baby blanket for child number 3, because then the child number 3 is going to get left out. I made it like this far, and then I just kind of stopped working on it. I also was pregnant myself at the time, so I made stuff for my own baby. And yeah, I decided that that was not bringing me any joy. And I'm really trying to be intentional about being both productive and joyful with my knitting. And I feel like that's a little counterintuitive, but I really like having finished objects. It feels good to have a finished object, but also the ADHD wants to chase all of the exciting new things. So I'm really trying to balance out find projects that specifically are bringing me joy and happiness as I work on them. So that way I am getting to the point where there are finished objects and not just a million whips lying around. Yeah, so I frogged that, and I have decided no more knit baby blankets for the time being. That is what I think I will use to try to learn how to crochet, because it's just a acrylic yarn. And from my understanding, once you get the hang of crochet, that goes a little bit faster than knitting does. And it takes up more yarn than knitting does. So a good way to kind of stash bust a little bit of the acrylic yarn that I specifically have for things like baby blankets or hats that I'm gifting to other people that I know that they're not really going to pay attention and could potentially felt and things like that. So that's where I'm at really with all of my whips. I don't have any real upcoming knitting plans, other than what I guess you guys have really already seen. Right now my upcoming knitting plans are finishing the 3 whips I just showed y'all. Those are really my biggest plans. So obviously test knit is first, since that has a sort of deadline. And then we'll kind of go from there. I'll work on either the alien cowl or the So Summer, just depending on what level of attention I can provide to my knits at that point in time. I do, since I last saw y'all, went to the Hedgehog Fiber Festival, which I've ended at. Was not the best show I've ever had, but wasn't the worst either. I mean, I got to hang out with a bunch of yarn people all day, which was a lot of fun. I did, do okay at my booth. The biggest highlights though were I don't know if I've mentioned this before or not, but I had with Polymorph Dyeworks made a like onesie jumper thing for my kid, and used that to take photos as she was kind of growing. And now that we are no longer doing the photos, so she's more than a year old, and she's not completely grown out of it, but grown out of it enough that I'm like, you don't need to be wearing a wool like jumper thing. I messaged, excuse me, I'm sorry. I messaged Lindsay of Polymorph Dyeworks, and just asked if she would potentially want that as a sample of her yarn. And she said yes, and that she would trade me a skein of yarn. And so I picked out this very bright and fun. I currently am kind of obsessed with like lemon lime chartreuse green colors, in case you can't tell by that and by the yarn I showed off last episode. But yeah, I don't remember what she is calling this colorway. She specifically was like, this is what the colorway is called. Do you want a tag so you don't forget what it's called? And I was like, oh, I'm not gonna forget what it's called. Joke's on me, I have forgotten what it's called. But anyway, so don't know what this is going to be. It's, I mean, probably socks, maybe a hat, maybe musselburgh, we'll see. It's sock weight base, so I will assume somewhere around 450-ish yards. And then if any of you all follow along with at Haynes House, they had some car trouble leading up to the festival. So car broke down while they were working on setting up and everything, and as a result they got to the festival on Saturday morning pretty late. It's a one-day festival, so they got there pretty late. So when they got there, went over and helped them set everything up, and as a thank you, Terry told me to take yarn. So while I was setting up, I saw this guy and I was like, this is mine. I have to have this. It is their Community DK 100% superwash, 231 yards, and it is called Package Phobia. Sorry, I didn't mean to cover my face. It's called Package Phobia. All of the colorways have stories associated with the name. So this story is, Dart was once a victim of porch pirates, and now he gets his packages inside as fast as he can. So I don't know how these colors play into that, but somehow they do. And yeah, so this is probably definitely, it's either going to be inside socks, like slipper socks for inside, or a hat, because what else am I going to do with one skein of DK? I'm sure there are other things I could do with one skein of DK, like one of those little mini scarves or something, but I don't see that for this, so that's not going to be that. And then the other skein, so every year for, so you can see it's a very blush pink color, and then it has some darker pink speckling and some browns in it. And there's just like a couple tiny, I don't know if you'll be able to see that on the camera or not, like a couple tiny specks of green. But every year around cherry blossom season, why am I so blurry now? Rude. There we go. If you know anything about DC and kind of the DMV area, DC is known for the cherry blossoms along the tidal basin. And so since we are from the DMV area, I know earlier I said I was from Baltimore. I grew up in the DMV area. Don't give me shit. If you don't know what that stands for, it's DC, Maryland, and Virginia. And Virginia and Maryland are kind of particular about what parts of each of those states qualify as the DMV. So if you're in Maryland, kind of like Montgomery County, PG County, like the counties that are right surrounding DC, those get to count. If you're in Virginia, Northern Virginia. Anyway, back to the actual yarn. So every year around the cherry blossom festival, cherry blossom time, things like that, Terry does a cherry blossom colorway. And I think this might be the third or fourth year of them doing it. And every year I've eyed it and I've been like, ooh, that's so pretty, I want that. But then I don't get it for whatever reason. So this year, as my thank you for helping them set up, that's what I got. The story is pretty much what I just said, although in shorter and much more succinct verbiage. This colorway is called the Cherry Blossom Chocolate City. This colorway is in honor of the cherry blossom trees in Washington, D.C., also known as Chocolate City. Cherry and chocolate make a delicious colorway. Some would probably say they also make a delicious snack. Jennifer is not in that camp. But yeah, that's really all I have to share for this episode. Next month, I have as the month has gone on, I've kind of decided like how I'm gonna podcast style going forward. So ideally I will still continue to do clips throughout the month and then kind of smash them all together to then upload a full podcast episode. I've decided that I want to kind of just have like a set day of the month every month that I upload. So that's going to be the first of the month. So ideally today is May 30th. So that means tomorrow I will have time to edit and then throw this up on the 1st. Ideally that'll kind of be my pattern, that I just kind of podcast throughout the month. Then towards the end of the month, I edit it all together and then I have it uploaded or scheduled to upload on the 1st of the month. We'll see how well that works out. I make no promises. Sometimes it probably will be just sit down, do one long clip and go from there. Sometimes it probably will be doing multiple different clips. For the upcoming month of June, I have some travel plans. Sorta, kinda. We're going to Hershey Park for a day. So that should be good. And then I'm supposed to go on a camping trip. There's some kind of life stuff going on with my family and health issues that may not make that feasible, but fingers crossed that that does happen because we love camping and that's great reading and knitting time by the campfire and hiking. So I have no idea if you can hear that. It's just kind of a child making noises, so sorry if you can. But yeah, so nothing super drastic coming up for this month or anything major going on in the world of Barley, Hops, and Yarn specifically. Just still settling in at my new job, which is so far going really well. I'm absolutely loving kind of my day schedule now. So getting up in the morning, getting my daughter ready to go to daycare, having a little bit of time to myself to knit, drink some coffee, eat some breakfast, then go to work, come home, do some chores, get my daughter from daycare, and just kind of like, it's nice to be able to feel like I'm finally having a balance between work and life. And I really am so grateful that I am able to do so, because obviously so many people are not. So definitely really grateful and happy about that. Happy with how well my new job is going. That's all I have noted down for my notes, and I can't really think of anything else. So with that, thank you for joining in and watching. If you're new, thanks for checking it out. I hope you stay around. If you're not new, thanks for sticking with me and my chaos and my not necessarily can't think of the word I'm looking for. Consistent? My not consistent posting schedule. We'll go with that. But yeah, all in all, thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you'd like to and you have not. And with that being said, until the next episode, bye.